Welcome to Middle Fingers Up. I am your host, Kieran. And okay, today's conversation. This is something that I've actually been sitting with for a while. Like, how do we put an episode around this? How do we openly talk about this topic? Mostly because I have noticed something shifting in culture, in the world, in the macro, micro. But when I say micro, like honestly in my own home, and that's where I always start. My kids have been coming up to me and asking me questions like, Mom, I like this actor. My oldest is like, really likes Keanu Reeves. He likes certain directors. And so they'll come up to me, my kids, and say, what's the controversy behind this celebrity or this person? For me, when I hear them ask me that, I kind of pause because I'm like, okay, this is different. I didn't grow up with this. I think a lot of us that grew up in the 80s and 90s were in this like complete unlearn mode because we grew up with pop culture. It sort of raised us. And now we're discovering all these other nuances about the things that we were taught. And so I love that I have kids that are trying to be socially conscious, trying to be aware of, are these people in the spotlight for good reasons? Are they utilizing their power, their privilege to support BIPOC, to support the world, support Palestine, support parts of the world that really need us to stand up? And so again, this is not something that I ever grew up with, nor had I really been thinking about it in my own 20s and 30s. And so it really took the last few years of my own unlearning to get to this place. So I think when you're deeply influenced by culture, and that's pop culture, I think what happens is that when we're questioning, what I'm saying is like, we don't necessarily always have the language behind some of the things that we're starting to come around and get. So I think now we're in this moment, in this snapshot of life where people might say things like, oh, I'm just here for the music. I just really like that TV show though. I don't care about anything else. And I think for me, when we say things like, I just like that, I'm just into that for the purpose of art, I'm starting to question, like, are we just here for that part of it? Because I feel pop culture doesn't just entertain us. I don't know if it always did, but I definitely feel like it doesn't anymore. It normalizes values. It shapes a lot of our narrative. And then it reinforces power, sometimes without us even realizing it. And I'll be honest, because that's the only thing I know how to do around here, is that a lot of this has shifted me on a personal level. And so I've done a lot of my own learning, unlearning, all that kind of stuff we talk about. Like, what's my role in these systems that center a lot of, when we talk about it, center whiteness, white supremacy, the whole North American, role in the way that we see things, the way we eat, the way we wear what we wear, buy what we wear. And I think for me, even artists like I once enjoyed, it starts to hit me a little differently now. And not in this dramatic cancel everything. And maybe that's necessary, I don't know. But I think in a way that I've started to ask, like, who is this for? Who is being centered here? What am I participating in when I support this person, go to that concert, put that TV show on, follow that person on Instagram or TikTok or whatnot? And so I think at the same time, there's a lot of people out there, families, friends, and everyone in between, including people of color, that are investing time, money, and emotion into these kinds of spaces, taking their kids to concerts, wanting them to fit in, which is something I think we all really truly want. And that's sort of the centers why we pick the artists we do and why we go to the concerts that we go to, because we want to be part of something. And I think that's real. And I think we have to identify that and be okay with that as well. So today's conversation isn't about telling anyone what to do, who to believe, because no one listens to me anyway. We all have freedom of speech. We can listen to what we want, eat what we want, wear what we want, drive what we want. And that's coming from a place of privilege when we get to say we have freedom of all those things. And so I don't think that personally though, just going to also say at the same time, like, I don't think we can stand on a global stage or have a Netflix comedy show or a reality show and have this microphone and not think that there's some influence behind it and be curious about what kind of influence that is. So maybe people say it's not political, but there's a responsibility there, and it is political. And I think there's those spotlight celebrities, and then there's us, the audience. Sometimes we don't know. And sometimes we're just too tired to engage. And sometimes we just want joy and escape. So again, not here to tell you what to do and how to do it. That's your mom's job. But I feel very committed to raising my kids in a way where they grow up and they can make socially responsible decisions in ways that it took me years to get to and realize. And so I think the hope is that they can hold this place of pleasure and impact, enjoyment and awareness. And I think there's a privilege in being able to not think about these things. So when we think of pop culture, personally, I feel it's often like the back door to the politics that are occurring in our everyday decisions and everyday lives. So even when we think we're avoiding it, even when we're like, I just don't follow what's going on around the world, chances are you are following what's going on because you're listening to a certain artist, you're watching a podcast, you're part of the LIB crew and everything in between. So that is what we are going to talk about today, this conversation I've been sitting with. So today's guest has been patiently waiting as I go on and on. So I'm unpacking some of this stuff with Allie. And I met Allie through the way we all meet nowadays, the socials. And you can find her on Instagram, TikTok. Her handle is at Reality with Allie. She has a really, really interesting platform of lots of real life conversations with the people that we put on pedestals every day. And so I'm curious how she got there, what her thoughts around this are. And so, Allie, welcome. So excited to have you today. Thank you.
Thanks so much for the intro and for having me today, Kieran. I'm excited to have this conversation with you. And yeah, I mean, the intersection of pop culture and politics, how one can separate that is something we'll get into, and something I don't think is actually possible. But even though people would like to think that it's, two separate things. But yeah, so basically I started posting on social media almost 2 years ago. In May, it'll be 2 years. I had been an active scroller on TikTok, started during the lockdown, like a lot of us did. And then I was like, you know what? Like, I'm tired of just consuming content. I need to be posting. And so, I mean, I've always been an avid consumer of reality television. And I say consumer for a reason because, like, I'm a fan of the genre when it comes to reality television, but I'm not necessarily a fan of the people on these shows, right? Like, I'm kind of like a hater when it comes to the people. And so, I've
it's
watched
like a weird
with, like,
social experiment
lens.
though, right? When you're watching,
Yeah.
like, it's like, yeah,
Exactly. I mean,
research.
Yeah, it's like sociology and
Yeah.
like anthropology. You're
Yeah.
just like studying these people. And that's like the interesting part of reality TV to me. So anyway, I'm consuming reality TV and consuming social media. And then I just started posting like my opinions on things, and it started non-political. And then as the US election inched closer and closer, so at the end of 2024 is when I started digging into the politics of some of these people, like especially the Real Housewives casts. And so that's how it started. And at the time, it was pre-election, so I was like all excited and thinking like that there was no way in hell that Trump was going to win the election. And so it was like fun to dig in and like see who these people were, and I was in like a happier, lighter place. And then the election happened, and worst case scenario became a reality again. It was like fucking. Can we swear? Is that okay?
Fuck yeah, we can.
Oh, obviously, middle fingers up. Hello. And so election came and went, and then also that's kind of when my like channel started to blow up because everybody was interested in really understanding where these people stood. People started to really find it important, in the same way that I find it important to look into these things, because ultimately we're putting money in these people's pockets. I think you can't separate pop culture and politics, especially if you are engaging with these pop culture icons, whether it be like just anybody who's a public figure. Because ultimately your engagement, your follow, your viewership does end up putting money in their pocket. And the question is, where are they spending their money, and what causes are they spending their money on, or what candidates are they funding? You know what I mean? Like, maybe people aren't necessarily as engaged politically, like publicly, but who knows what they're doing behind closed doors. So anywho, that's kind of the trajectory of my existence on social media in the past couple of years. So it's ebbed and flowed but like I've only become angrier. Just
I hear you, sister.
State of the world. I like think about how I wonder how I would have been approaching things had things gone differently. In 2024, people probably think I'm such a negative person, but it's like, well, shit. What is there to really like? Yes, I have a pretty great life. I'm speaking of privilege, I have a lot of privilege. And then as a white person, I feel like it's I have a duty to speak about that privilege and make sure that we're having these conversations. So yeah, that's kind of the long and short of my social media presence.
So a couple things. Like you touch on people do think, oh, she's so angry. And I can relate to that. I get that as a woman of color. We get that a lot. If we put our opinion in any kind of situation, oh, you're so angry. And when it comes to some of these real life things that are going on, like our politics, the impact it has on all of us, it is really interesting that people would rather watch cat videos all day or whatever fashion influencer. And I think, okay, fine. Like we need light times too, to carry forward.
Yeah.
Totally. But then call it what it is. So where do you think, even you said like, maybe I'm, they think I'm negative or whatever. Like, how is it that that's what it comes down to, is that you're negative when you're kind of painting the picture of what's happening? Like people are living this in real time. So why is it about it's so negative?
I don't know. And nobody's ever said, oh, you're so negative. I think this is just my own.
Do you get comments like that? Like,
no,
do you get?
No, nobody said it.
Most people are on par with what you're saying.
I've been able to curate a very supportive following. Like, I very rarely end up on the wrong sides of the internet, which is a blessing and a curse, because I'm like, it's a lot of yes men around me who are like, I think it's my own, not insecurity, or just like, maybe I should be like a little bit more positive, but it's like, who the fuck can be positive right now? Yeah. Like, I don't know, I'm just being real. I guess what I question is like, am I helping improve things? You know what I mean? Like, am I making the world a better place? And I think so. Ultimately, but sometimes it's this like push and pull of like, am I doing the right thing or talking about the right things? Am I being helpful? That's when I go into like a lull of like not posting as much. It's like, it's because I feel like nothing I do or say will matter. You know what I mean?
I hear you. I do. I hear that for sure.
Yeah.
I do want to add though to that, in the sense of like, it makes sense to feel that you're that person in the room, like the party pooper is
the woke.
Yes. Peace to that. Absolutely. Yeah. Right. Yeah. But also at the same time, like what you're doing is so important, and it makes sense that you have people around you that are like, thank you for this, or this makes sense, or I learned something. I think also, like, you are a biracial woman. You and I talked about this. You're half Mexican, half white. You can talk a little bit about that in a bit if you want. Your identity kind of leans towards the white side for various reasons you had shared before. And I think where I see you utilizing that is like, yeah, you do have an opportunity to use that and invite other people that are like-minded, look like you, don't look like you, that think, oh, like that's why I reached out to you. Because normally I don't think I would have. But when I was looking at your content, I was like, okay, she's someone that I could have a safe conversation with, like someone that I can, sure, we can challenge each other and all that. That's great. We should do that. But there's this understanding of privilege, and you bring that in your content when you talk, and you brought that into the room when you and I met too about, look, I'm mixed race, but I know people think I'm white, and this is, I can lean into it. And also I'm using it to help people. Like we need the white women to do those things.
Totally.
Because you'll have more of a following. You have this platform in a way that some of us wouldn't. Not everyone is going to listen to what I have to say. Not to say that I have something better to say, but I think because of your whiteness, you can look at it as negativity of what people say or go into your lulls, but you're needed to use that part of you. And so I appreciate that. And we laughed because when I reached out to you, I was like, okay, you're safe because you talked about Taylor Swift and the way you did. And it's funny, right? Because I think a lot of us probably look at those sorts of things on your page about, okay, she's talking about the real stuff out there, not the floofy kind of stuff that we try to, we have a lot of people out there doing. So kudos to you.
Thank you.
I hope that you have like less lull times and more of like, okay, push through that, because it's wild, right? What's happening in your country and the impact of that in all of our countries. And so
Totally. And to speak to like my own privilege and sorry, more of my background, my actual background.
Yeah, let's talk a little bit about you. That's great.
So I'm from the Bay Area. So from like about an hour south of San Francisco, from a very, very privileged town in the Bay called Los Gatos, or Los Gatos is how you would pronounce it in Spanish, but everybody there calls it Los Gatos, just to give you a little helps to understand.
I'm picking up what you're putting down. Yes.
Yeah. So my mom is from Mexico City. My dad, white Jewish American from LA. They met in the Bay Area, and that's where my sisters and I were raised. But yeah, being born in this like bubble of a town where I am white. Like I wouldn't even call myself white passing. Like I like just exist as a white person in the world. I mean, like, yes, I identify very closely, and like I really hold my Mexican heritage close to my heart and identity. Like I've spent a lot of summers in Mexico. I speak decent Spanish. Now I'm learning Portuguese, and I'm like losing my Spanish, but because I live in Lisbon in Portugal, but which my mom was not. But mom was like, why aren't you moving to Spain? Like, why aren't, you know?
Yeah.
But anyway, that's an aside. But yeah, so growing up in Los Gatos, and also I'm Jewish. So yeah, so like there were just like a lot of like little bubbles that I was like a part of, and like a lot of conversations that weren't necessarily had, or like my mom, she raised us to be proud, like I said, of our Mexican heritage, but like when it came to like race relations or like these conversations or being exposed to other ethnicities like in town or at school, it just wasn't really like there was like the token Black people in your class, right? Like there are like five like five Black people in your class or something, right? And so then it wasn't really until college where I started to have a lot of these like conversations around race. So this was probably 2010-ish. And then I met my now husband in 2012, who is Black. And luckily, I mean, I feel very, very fortunate to have met him, so that, I mean, it shouldn't be up to a Black person to teach you about race, but I was fortunate enough to have met him when I was 22, and he was willing to kind of wake me up. And
So would you say before that you had a different because of your upbringing, your environment, where you were geographically, you had a whole like bubble privilege, white girl kind of, yeah, like everybody's like this. And
we're just like, I wouldn't say, I don't know if I ever thought like, I don't see color. I don't think I ever thought that, but it was more like, especially from like the Jewish side of things, like, oh, well, like Jews were slaves once in Egypt.
Too.
You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah. Yeah. So you're like, yeah, for sure.
You know, like, oh, we like Jews and Black people, like we, you know, we understand, we see each other, you know what I mean? And it's just like, no, no. Like yeah. So
then you meet him and he like gives you, he's good for him to meet you and also like understand his context too, because he not assimilated Black kid who's like as well, because I met my white husband at 20 and I was a very white brown girl. So he didn't necessarily get that kind of support in the way that you're getting from your husband as you're meeting. So okay, so you meet him and he's willing to give you
he's
some
willing to help me unlearn things and see things differently and be a true ally. I mean, I think it's a lifelong, it's something that never stops. Like, true allyship, and like also checking your own biases. I mean, it's not something that ever, like little things that like, I don't know, somebody passes you and you like hold your bag tighter, like check yourself. Like that's something that like continuously happens, even if you're aware of it or don't want to be that person. It's just something that's kind of these unconscious things that go on. So anyway, luckily he helped me really work on my like white fragility and really understand my privilege. And
was that hard for you? Like when
at first?
Yeah. So like, can I ask you a little bit about that? Like, so how, can you give me an example of like what would have gone down at that time in like a kind of a conversation?
I remember like kind of early on into the relationship, or maybe like a couple years, where we almost broke up because I was like, I wasn't getting it. I can't remember what exactly was happening. It was like, if you don't see like this for what it is, like this privilege, or like there's something, it wasn't necessarily something that I had done, but it was like how I was viewing the world and how I just, for some reason, I think it was about like just my own white fragility though, or like I'm not a racist, like, you know, that pushback that like kind of happens before you break through and you're like, oh shit, I do have these racist tendencies, or not. And racism is like a spectrum. I mean, there's like inherent racism, and there's different levels of racism, right? So it's like, I wasn't calling anybody the N-word, but it's just like little things where I had a hard time accepting my own bias. And then there was just like a conversation that we had, and I just like had a breakthrough. And then I've kind of been more of like a warrior about it. Like I've felt not the pressure, but just like the onus is on me to help others understand and call people out. I mean, maybe that's why I am the way that I am online now, is just because I want to be held accountable, but I also want others to be held accountable as well. Especially
because you probably see people where you were years back and you're like, ooh, like I see where this is going. And so you see yourself in that, and you're trying to say, I can actually be helpful. And do you find that people receive that well, or people kind of meet you with where you met yourself with years ago with, whoa, no, I'm
it depends on the conversation, right? Or it depends. Right now I'm in the comment section on, I don't know. Are you a Bravo fan? Like, do you watch Bravo shows? I can't remember.
Well, I do. Yes, I do watch the Real Housewives of Beverly Hills for my own social experiment. We talked about Selling Sunset, but we both said that show doesn't count because that's so fucked. So I watched some of them, and then on Instagram, Andy Cohen and his stupid ass interviews and stuff, you know, I'm always like,
yeah.
oh, what are these idiots saying these
Yeah,
days? So yeah,
totally.
yeah.
Well, so the reason I ask is because right now, what Summer House is a show that's on Bravo right now.
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
it's one of my favorite shows on the network in a long time, and it has been my favorite show for a while. And in this recent episode that just aired, I want to say yesterday, they are having like a dialogue, an interracial dialogue about race and the dynamics and how some Black cast members are treated by the fandom. These conversations are being had on these shows. People are in the comments right now talking about Sierra, who's a Black girl on the cast, using the race card or like shit like that. That shit just pisses me off, and I can't not get into like try to school these people. But it's like these people just can't. They don't
No,
get it. They don't
no,
like
they
until
won't.
you can like deal with your own privilege and like and your own fragility and your own guilt, your like white guilt. It's like it's
Mm-hmm.
and I've talked about it before on my TikTok about white guilt. Like that's what it is. It's like it's hard to look in the mirror, or it's hard for a mirror to be held up to your face and to be called out and to like actually receive it. So that's
Because
why I
other
mean
people
I just
do
keep
it.
talking
It
about it.
often, it's true because often you get white people that will say, yeah, but don't you as a person of color talk like this about your own people? Or like, so there's no grace for people of color in what they're doing, and there's no responsibility in, oh, this is possible for me. But
Mhm.
or it's like a conversation in general. Like Tony Neighbors, he does a lot of really good racial equity work. I've interviewed him. I told him, like, you're like my therapist. I learned a
Amazing.
lot from him, and he talks about that too, in that sometimes people will be head smart and they can't be heart smart. So you can
Mhm.
intellectually talk about the history and all these things that don't actually personalize and maybe connect with you on like a micro level, even though it is connected to you. But when it comes to your own personal, oh, I could do something different, or I do have racist tendencies, you're right. Like it's always, let's just put the beer back out this way.
Yeah.
And I mean, and we're built with defense mechanisms. This is part of survival of the fittest. So we've all had to like have these moments in back in the day to survive. And you see how it's carried out in today's world, where it's like, nope, that's not possible. I'm not this
Right.
way. I'm not this way. And you're
I
like,
can't be
well,
racist.
no, I can't
Yeah.
ever talk to you again. Because where's this fucking conversation going to go after today if that's where you're meeting me at with? And you know what I mean? So like, I
Yeah.
appreciate what you're saying. So anyways, I didn't mean to cut you off, but I wanted to like,
No, thank you.
I get what you mean when people are like, no, it's not me, it's you. So back to Sierra, a Black girl using the race card. That makes so much sense naturally. Yes.
Yeah, and so those types of conversations I can't help but try to use my privilege to help other white people see that like this is a problem. Like
Yeah.
the people
Yeah.
people aren't bringing these issues up to complain or to use the race card, which is just that's such a triggering phrase for me. And the fact that I just have so much empathy for the Black community, even I don't want to say just because my husband's Black, but like that also helped me really to just sit with understanding the struggle and really just thinking about slavery and all of the struggles that the Black American community have had to go through and have persevered through to get to where they are. Like the fact that people can't see that, it boggles my fucking mind.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And obviously the Black community isn't the only oppressed, marginalized community that's been through anything, but I mean, like if you just think about slavery, like chattel slavery, like American slavery, it's just insane. So I will continue to use my platform.
Do you think like having a personal connection to a Black man has opened this door for you, and you're like, you can't look back, and you're going to go with this, and you're going to use your privilege? So not everyone's going to be in that position where they're going to have a personal relationship. And if they do, I'm just going to throw this in there too. Like, I have been that token best friend to a lot of white people. And because I assimilated so hard, I was that one that gave them whatever information they wanted so that they can go to other people and be like, oh, my brown friend said this is okay. I also didn't know how to show up for myself and my people either. And so I think there's like all these different layers in this. And so for people out there that aren't personally connected to a Black person, Indigenous person of color, where can they truly bring that mirror back? Like, how can they start to be okay to go through those defense mechanisms of like, okay, I got to start with me. And yeah, it's true. I do have racist tendencies. Like, that's just the world centers and orbits around whiteness. And so it's not personal, it's systemic, but we're all in that system. So do you have thoughts around where people can start to actually do their own work?
Yeah. And I was hesitant to like admit or say that like it's because I have a Black partner that I'm so like passionate about this. And I hope, I want to believe that I still would have gotten to this place regardless. But so if you do want to do the work, I would recommend, there is a book called White Fragility, which I think it was going viral like during Black Lives Matter and COVID. Like, I highly recommend reading that book. And I think there's also another book, I want to say it's like called something about white guilt. So both of those books are good places to start. And then just like consuming content by Black creators, honestly, who dig into Black history or anything that like really helps break down these like racial lines, the origins of the country, of like the US, and comes at it from like a racial lens, I think would be a few different places that one could start. And like just going on YouTube, I mean, I guess you got to be careful with making sure that the content that you consume is accurate and actually helping you to deconstruct.
Yes,
but those are
not
some places.
Back you up.
Yeah.
Like, oh, like, this person said,
don't watch the but yeah, so those are some places that I would recommend starting.
I think that's lovely. If I can add too, the biggest challenge I found, A, being married to a white man, and then B, having only white friends ever in my life, is that you're in these people's lives as a person of color. And I don't know if your husband feels this way or even parts of you feel this way, but sometimes it's like your own experience isn't data enough. And so then again, a lot of white people will go to, and it's like a lot of people will do this, then they will go to that head smart of, well, like 60% of people say, and I think truly, like every racialized person, every Black person, every Indigenous, all the people, like they're going to have their own personal experience with a lot of that literature that we read. And so when someone shares their story or their experience, I think the challenge is like, do you feel those sensors going off of like, oh, wait, oh, because I think I really back. Do feel.
Are you pushing back?
Yeah, totally. And I think people truly want to do good. Like people don't want to be labeled as a racist. People don't want to be racist. And I think then when someone's sharing their story, the first thing people go to is, I would never do that. I've never done that. I've always, like I've had friends no more that will push an article across the table to share with me after I've told them that they're being fucking racist people to me. And they're like, well, you seem angry, read this. And so I think when you as a white person think that you've done it, I think that's the trick in itself, is like, no, you haven't. Let's go back to like chapter 1, because as you said earlier, this is a lifelong thing. Like we're just like, if I'm unpacking internal racism and it's going to be for the rest of my life, like then everyone else that's not of color also has a lifelong journey too. And so it always comes down to what's in it for me. And I think even when we go back to pop culture and what you talk about, it's again separating that art from the artist. And you mentioned like that's not possible. So maybe we can go and talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, we absolutely can. And it's like, I mean, just
did you want to add something else there?
No, like, but
okay.
So when you said you can't separate the art from the artist, I thought about Beyonce.
Oh my gosh, she's in my notes. Good, let's do that. I have some feedback too, but let's talk about her. Okay.
And I'm curious like, that's why I had that like that's why I had that reaction, because I've loved Beyonce.
Me too. Yes.
For decades, right?
Yes.
I am Beehive. But it's like she's a billionaire over everything else. And it's just like, if I'm calling out Taylor Swift for being a billionaire, and I mean, obviously Taylor Swift is just like, I can't stand her, but but if I'm calling Taylor Swift out for being a billionaire and really not doing much to give back or help improve, like she doesn't use her platform for good. I mean, she has maybe in the past, or she like
she's a cult. She's a cult. What she makes people do before they go to her concert, that should be the message. And it's like dressing a certain way, the bracelets. It's like you have to do the beadwork. Like I know no more, but I used to know a mom and a daughter, and they're white, and they were going to her concert, and like this was like weeks of fucking preparation and like being brought to me, and I'm like, there was zero connection to like you're talking to a woman of color about Taylor Swift and all these things. So I was like, okay, this is weird, but I was like, this is literally a call, and like the thousands and thousands of dollars, right? That you're charging. So I get, but back to the Beyonce thing. Yeah, sure. Okay.
So I do think that Beyonce has done more for the community, but it's just like, also, is it enough? I mean, but also I feel like as a white person, I don't want to come in and be critical of a Black woman, but also it's just like, okay, but if we look at it from like class lines, or like billionaire class versus somebody who's in a lower class, how anybody is choosing to stay a billionaire, I think is unethical. Or becoming a billionaire, maybe the way she became a billionaire is a little bit more, she put in the work, but staying and being a billionaire, I mean, I have a hard time respecting that, even though I respect the work that she's put in, and I think that she's an amazing talent, and like the talent of our like lifetime. But it's hard for me to now, I think I can still enjoy her music. So my question, when you said like, can you separate the art from the artist? It's like, I don't know anymore.
I know,
I don't
it's
know
rough.
Which is crazy because I like have loved her for so long. But when it comes to others, I don't think you can. I don't think you can.
Yeah, anyway. Like I think there's a power behind it. And if you, and I think this is where the race stuff starts to like get complicated, because then you will hear people say, well, there's Beyonce, and you're like, yeah, you're right. There is this Black woman who did what she did through the industry to get there. But then there is this like the bar so low for these celebrities. So yes, she's Black. At the same time, she does have this amount of money, and there is an ethical responsibility, a social responsibility. And if we are going to help you get there, we're going to scrape our dollars and our pennies and work overtime to go to a concert. And for us Canadians, it used to be that we would have to go to the States because a lot of these artists don't even come to Canada. They think Toronto and Vancouver is Canada, but there's more to us. And so when we used to travel to the States, and now obviously a lot of us don't, you're spending all this money and you're going. But then it is very Taylor Swifty, where you have to look at, okay, so what is she doing with that? Where is that money going? Yeah, sure, she should earn it. She should pay her dancers properly, all those people that work hard to get her to look like and be who she is.
And but even then when you do the math, she's like, it's like, I think they did the math and it's like 0.7% of like,
it's nothing. It's nothing. these artists in
Yeah.
the background are hurting.
Yeah.
But
Sorry
then
not to
there's
cut you
also no, we're having a conversation, and that's what we do. And I've done it like 30 times to you. So no, it's a conversation.
Yeah.
It's just like, where's the money going? And we're not supporting. There's no conversation about what's happening in Palestine. There's no conversation about what's happening in the Congo. There's no conversation about all these genocides that are occurring. And that is where it gets political. You have this much influence, this much money. You can talk about fashion and Chanel and these kinds of people, then you can also have the same kind of conversation about real people out there who look up to you. And so that's where I struggle. When you're in that, like you said, the billionaire status, it does not matter to me what your race is, because you're at this level of unreachable, unattainable.
You're a billionaire before you are your race, I think. I mean, also there's no class solidarity like billionaire class solidarity. Like,
totally, because there's no one, there's a small percentage of you and you're a little community and you're all for you. And yeah, if you were doing a bunch of work out there, my kid, like I said, mentioned earlier, he loves Keanu Reeves, and I love that he loves Keanu Reeves, and I really hope we never hear anything shitty about him.
Yeah,
but
I don't think we will.
There's someone who's uses their money to do some good out there, and have cafes where anyone can go and eat, put money in places that support the community, his indigenous community. That is the importance of it, that I think all of us try to give to charity to some level, and we're not at that place, right? So I think that's where the struggle is. And now we're wearing Beyonce shirts and Taylor Swift shirts, but I've stopped listening to. I actually remember this was the white friend No More. She was like, "Oh, Karen, I'm finally interested in Beyonce," because she had released a country album. So even just that is a so much to unpack there, right? And so, and I was like, you know what? I actually have not listened to it. I'm not really listening to Beyonce. I've actually been putting a lot of listenings to South Asian music. There's a lot of new artists that are doing really good work, and they come from my home community. Like, they're kind of fun to listen to. And her face was like literally, and people are going to think I'm making it up, but my husband can be my witness to it, like disgusted in me of like, almost like you think you're better than me because I'm saying that I'm trying to support my own community. And I think this is the divide that happens in pop culture, where we defend these people so hard. And why do we do that? Like, the fandoms, like you said, people that are like, I'm team so-and-so versus team so-and-so. And you're like, why are we doing this? What is that about? Is it because we see ourselves in them? Is it,
or we want to be them, or
like, what is that?
Yeah, it's a
why does it become
question.
Personal?
It's a good question. I think it's because we want to be their friend, or it becomes this like weird parasocial situation where you think you know the person too, because you've listened to their lyrics and you connect with them, and then you know what I mean. It's like there's all this like psychology to it, I think. But yeah, fandom. I mean, when I say I'm a fan of Beyonce, like I pick and choose who I actually like am a fan of. Like, it's very rare when I am like a fan of a music artist, or like a fan, like somebody who's like gonna ride or die for somebody. Like, but I don't think I can be like that. I think I just remember that everybody's like a person, like a real. I think people forget that people are just people.
Yeah,
Yeah. And like pop culture can, and also just like paparazzi culture, or just like this type of kind of stan culture, people can get so invested in people's lives that like don't even know they exist. Or I've never been that type of person, and I don't think everybody is, but I think that enough people are, and that's how we let. I don't know if you've been following this news about, like, in the US, like there's the new Bachelorette is about to come out. And she, the woman who was cast as the Bachelorette, was from that show, the Secret Lives of Mormon Wives, for example. And this woman is like, I mean, the women on these shows, it's like, how are you getting this platform? Like, how are you getting these opportunities? And you're just like a terrible human. But like, they have all of these fans that are gonna like ride or die for them. And I don't get it. Like, I am very much anti like celebrity worship.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, everybody's just a person. And I do try to also remember that when I'm critiquing somebody, but it's like, if I know that they're not, if in my opinion, they have the platform to be doing more, or the privilege to be helpful in any cause, and they're not using it, it just really puts a bad taste in my mouth. And I am going to continue to call it out when I see it, and
Yeah.
especially
Yeah.
if people are like supporting the Trump administration. I mean, like, you can't be a good person and support this administration. So I think we have to be very picky about who we choose to, like, we give people their platforms and we can easily take them away. And I think people need to remember that.
Yeah, that's exactly it. I'm not worshiping celebrities, and I wasn't that way years ago. You grow up with posters on your walls and you want to be these people and all this stuff. And then when you start to do some of this work, as we've been talking, you can't go back and you're like, wait a minute, these are humans, and fine, they can make mistakes. But again, it's like, to me, they're using their privilege, as they say to Spider-Man, with great responsibility comes power. With power comes great responsibility, however that goes.
Yeah, something like that.
Sorry. And I think it's the same with celebrities. They are looked at as superheroes on many levels. And so there has to be a way to use that for good. And but then what is good? Because people will argue that you can be part of the Trump administration and be good. People see what they see. So then we're like, are you, I'm with you. Like, like 100%, but I have had legit conversations with people that truly feel that this, and some of them are people of color, some of them aren't. Like, everyone's got their take on how this is okay, because in North America, and especially if you're not looking a certain way, in the States, and the rest of us, we're so far away from parts of the world that are like begging for someone to come and save them and help them. And so we sit here and we, buy the car, buy the labels, do these things. And so it's like, my husband and I were talking about this last night. We're like, hey, where's the line? Like, there are certain coffee places like Starbucks and places like that. Some of us have started to boycott Target. Right. And there's all these kinds of things that you do what you can. And then it's like, to what end? To what end? To what end? So there's always this challenge of like, how do I go to bed at the end of the day not feeling guilty that like, as you said earlier, I want to be a good person. I want to do good. And so, yet these people with these platforms sleep with both eyes closed every day. And that some of them are terrible people. Yeah. When we watch The Real Housewives, and it's like, this is what you are arguing about. And people love this. People care for this. They care about what you're wearing, who you're wearing, couture, this and that.
And I think I think you can continue to care about that, but then it's about holding space for multiple things. Like, a comment that I get from like trolls a lot is just like, there are more important things happening in the world. And it's like, yeah, well aware. I think we could have the ability to comment on a reality TV show when it doesn't have to do with politics or something that's like in current events. But then it's also just like being mindful. I mean, I think as long as you're aware and doing something, I mean, whether it's like you said, boycotting Amazon or Starbucks, as you said, it's like, not everybody has to be. Yeah, like, not everybody has to be like posting videos online, but it's like, if you have somewhat of a platform, I do think people have a responsibility to be speaking up for the people that they care about. And it doesn't necessarily need to be about everything. It's like, okay, well, do you care about like women's rights? Do you care about the LGBTQIA plus community? I mean, hopefully you care about everything, or hopefully you care about all people. But like, yes, it can feel overwhelming to be able to like comment on everything. And I don't think you have to, but it's, say something, or and I'm not talking about like everybody, but I'm talking about people with a decent sized platform.
Yeah.
Yeah. But if you don't have that, I think like there are little things that you can do to feel like you do care. Like I said, like the boycotting of different businesses or what have you. So
Totally. And where it comes into our personal lives is we will talk to people that we care about that may not see eye to eye and may support a cause that or a person or a label or something that's
Mhm.
actually damaging. And I think sometimes it's hard to not do the canceling thing of like, I can't be around you, I can't talk to you. And I think we all
Yeah.
have different ways of handling it. But I've been trying to look at it. I'm like, okay, going back to the beginning of this conversation, my kids, they come to me and they ask me about
Mhm.
these controversies and who's supporting what, that hopefully they can build their own critical thinking and not have to
Yeah.
ask me and say, okay, I will not follow this director because of these reasons. And
Mhm.
at the same time, I think of it as, okay, when my kids say they like a certain, let's say, director, like I'm not shaming them. I'm not canceling them.
Sure.
I'm not like going all nuts on this, like you suck, because
Yeah.
they're learning. And I think we have so much more patience for young people. And I think we have
Yeah.
to also look at that. Yes, I'm an adult and I have more responsibility, but maybe I too am just learning it where you were years ago with your partner, where I've come from the last few years with my own
Yeah.
learning of like internal racism and all this stuff. And so it's like we also have to have a little bit of understanding for each other too, in this place of like, especially when it's people we care about. Okay, you might still go to that concert and support that singer that does not give a fuck about us.
Right.
But okay, can we keep coming back to this, or can we again think about why does that family member bring that up to me and
Yeah.
say, are you sure that's someone, the shirt you want to wear with that person's name? Or
Yeah.
like, how can I
Yeah.
help you see this? Like, if we can be a little bit more open, because like you said, we're all trying to be good humans and caring for all the humans, not just the ones that we're personally connected to, like you said, the trans
Yeah.
community, everyone out there that is marginalized is asking
Mhm.
for us to care
Mhm.
and speak up.
Mhm.
So I don't know if you have anything you want to add to that.
Yeah, like it's something that I need to also work on too is refraining from as much judgment. I think also another way to like feel like maybe you are making a difference is like holding space for these conversations with like your close friends and family members. Even
Yeah.
like these
Yeah.
uncomfortable conversations. They're hard though. It's very hard,
It is.
So like that if it's not something that you want to like do publicly or post about publicly, but it's like maybe you're having conversations about it privately. And I think that a lot of change comes from those private conversations, like especially with families who like have MAGA family members or who, I mean, a lot of them have cut their family members off and like
Yeah.
rightfully so. But
Safety.
yeah, yeah. But I mean, if you see an in or some kind of hesitation, I mean, I feel like look for that in and
Hmm.
if you can have those conversations. So that could be another way. But it's hard,
Totally.
man.
It is hard. It is hard. This is coming from a woman who has none of her friends left because I was in a place of my mind wasn't catching up as quick as to my gut. You know, your gut's telling you in these moments with certain people, oh, this isn't the right, like you've already kind of shut me down a couple times and I've mentioned, let's say, Palestine or other parts, maybe like conflict between being married to a white guy and my white friends are supporting my white husband. Like always it was supporting him before me.
Yeah.
And so I got a lot of flack from them. I got called a lot of things from them. And I still get messages about lots of things that they're angry about with me because I was friends with these people for years and
Yeah.
I did cut them off. I did just say, I need space, peace out after years and years. And I
And that's
think
fair.
for me, it is fair and it's crappy, but I also feel sometimes we have to cut people off because we don't have the voice and the language and the capacity yet to sit through such a painful fucking conversation with them.
Yeah.
And I think people who have been cut off, like I would really encourage thinking about maybe there are signs and things of what I didn't say or did say that led to this too. Because I think, as you were saying earlier, when people don't want to bring the mirror inward and they want to point it outward, people don't realize that they put lots of signs out every single day that make other people, marginalized people, not want to have the conversation with them about, hey, just so you know, you've been doing some racist-y things lately. That's not an easy conversation to have. And when you've been rubbed the wrong way with one person, the pattern continues. These patterns exist. And so sometimes people like to think, oh, well, I'm different. But it's like you also said a lot of things leading up. And so I think, yes, have some grace. But I agree with you too. Like sometimes, yeah, you do have to say, fuck off, peace out, or whatever it is.
Protect
because
your
it's
peace.
just like, this is literally, because it's like, I don't have the capacity to explain this to you. And why should I? Because you're just going to defend yourself the whole time and say, well, that's not what I said. I supported you. And
I don't think it's up to like POC or Black people to like be doing it. I think it's like, I'm more speaking to like white people who are able or feel capable to like hold space for these conversations if it's possible.
Oh,
for me, it's
that's
very
the dream.
difficult.
I know, for sure it is. I hear you, because it's like, come on, people, can we just get it? Because our bar is so low. We have it so low in what we think is okay and not okay. So maybe I can pause for a second and ask you to just do the little middle finger segment. Because I know I've taken up a lot of your time and I can keep doing this, but
I'm having fun.
And maybe it's like you get to come back to, because I have not been able to have a white person on and have this kind of conversation. And so maybe there's like all these other topics that I've been holding on to find like a person to have these with. Maybe you're the one to come, hopefully, if you're willing to come back and have some more of these conversations with.
Totally.
Okay, so middle fingers up. Simple.
Okay,
quick,
remind me,
so
like it's
what do you want to put your middle fingers up to? So it could be any of the isms, it could be anything, it could be something so little, it could be something so big, something that's going on in your world that you want to bring attention to. And I want to put
my middle fingers up to Zionism. I've had to unlearn you, and I am so disappointed in a lot of the Jewish community and how people can be supporting the genocide, and how people can be so blinded by indoctrination that they can't see what's truly happening. And also, I'm just thinking about what's going on in Iran right now, and all for what? Yeah. So that's what I'm putting my middle fingers up to. It's just like, it's really a bummer, to put it mildly.
Yeah, man. Yeah,
to put it really,
right? It is. Yeah. And like, good to bring it up and good to keep talking about it too. Like, no matter how negative people might think, these conversations need to keep happening. And look, it takes a lot. It takes a lot for you, coming from also having connection to the Jewish heritage, your background as a white woman, to like sit here and also name these things and have this conversation too. So good for you as well to be one of the gooders who can be in a room long enough to go there and have that kind of conversation. Because I think, again, we need people like you to help people like us get that out there, and people are more willing to listen to you. And at the same time, I know you have a personal connection to it too. So I can appreciate like how unraveling that might be for you as well, to be able to have to be in that place too.
Yeah, thank you. It's wild. It's wild, like how unsafe you realize, like once you do that like unlearning and you realize what's happening, it's wild how unsafe that like Zionism makes Jews all over the world. The actions of Israel are making us less safe as a Jewish community. And I just hope that people can get to a point where they can separate their Jewish identity or their Jewish, like the Jewish religion, from Zionism. And I'm talking about the Jews who still kind of conflate the two, and other people who conflate the two. Hopefully they can see that there's a difference there too.
Yeah.
But my middle.
I'm with you on that. Yeah, the middle fingers of the toes up to that too, like all of them if I could do that. Absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely. And so we're having that conversation. Yet we started on pop culture, but I think
Yeah.
for everyone else listening, like this is how everything is so intertwined and connected. So you do have to ask yourself, like, why can I not separate the artist from the art? Like, I love arts and culture. I know Allie does too. We as a community thrive with creativity, but there has to be a space to do it in the good and right way that benefits all the humans and not just the institution of white supremacy. And so I think we all have to recognize that everything in the arts and cultures world cannot orbit around that. And so how do we each individually, starting in our own homes with our own kids, because like for me, it's the next generation, like what do we want to teach these kids as they launch into the world and have all this coming at them? Like they have to know how to have these conversations. Speak for themselves.
It's important to remember that pop culture reflects power and power dynamics, and power is political. So it's like there's just no way that you can separate the two.
I so agree and see that, and invite others to also ask the same question too. Like, what am I engaging with? Who is it benefiting? Mm-hmm. And I'm all for needing to laugh and have a good time too. Like 100%. I think we all need to manage our mental health, but there are many ways we can do that as communities without impacting other humans at their own expense. So
amen.
It's time to raise the bar, people. Anything, Allie, you wish that I asked or we talked about today, or you're like, hey girl, I thought we were going to say this thing, but we didn't do it, before we sign off?
I don't think so. Let's have another convo and keep it going. I can't think of anything right now top of mind.
Well, that's because the new Selling Sunset season's not out yet. So when that's out, I'm sure we'll have lots to say. And you like to talk. We didn't even get to talk about traders, because I know you talk about traders on your so maybe that's another one to come back to. Maybe we need to do like,
we have to talk about traders for sure. Yeah. Okay. We'll talk about all
allyship with Allie. Maybe we have segments with you where we have those conversations. Yeah.
I love that. Yeah.
If you could leave everybody with one thing and only one thing from today's episode, what do you hope people walk away with today?
I think just be critical, like watch things with like a critical lens. I think you should always be consuming media with a critical lens and not just taking things at face value. And I'll leave it at that. I think that's really important.
Well said. And lastly, where can people reach you if they missed it in the beginning?
Yes. So I am on TikTok, Instagram, YouTube. I think those are my main 3 channels. On TikTok, I'm at Reality with Allie, and then on YouTube and Instagram, it's actually it's Reality with Allie, because I couldn't use Reality with Allie on those channels.
Perfect. And we'll have that in the show notes for people as well.
Great.
Go follow Allie, reach out to her, ask questions. If you want to just start somewhere, that's a great place to start educating yourself.
My DMs are always open.
Yeah, there you go. She's good. She responds back. So I appreciated that so much. So I was like so excited.
Yeah. Oh, and you can follow me on Threads too. Threads is a fun.
You are.
Yeah. Threads is fun.
You've been vocal. Yes, that's right. Mm-hmm. So she has a lot to say. And so I think you guys should follow her. For everyone else, I always say these conversations are door openers. Like, we're just starting them, especially in our community. We're just having them. We're only starting to realize them. So there's no shade. There's no guilt. It's like, let's just be curious. Let's open the door to this. And let's continue having this conversation about pop culture and politics and where we fit in between. I think it's important. Any last words before we sign off?
Thank you so much for having me. I had a really, really great time.
Thank you.